Revenge films.
It was the day of my sister's wedding, who was 8 years older than me. My sister always took good care of me. Perhaps because of the age difference or because she started working first, and she would give me an allowance and take me out to dinner. She has good grades and a pretty face. I was proud to be her little sister. When my sister turned 29, she got engaged. Of course, I was happy for her, but there was a part of me that felt like my little sister was being robbed of me, and I went to the wedding feeling a little bit of sadness too. When I went to go see her before the ceremony, she was so beautiful. I was touched. They had planned a traditional ceremony with the bride and the father of the bride walking down the aisle to meet the groom at the altar. But as soon as the ceremony started, we saw a strange scene. Next to the groom, who should have been waiting alone, was his mother arm in arm with him. My sister and my father arrived, and when they saw that, they stood there for a moment in shock. They exchanged some words, and shortly after they walked down the aisle towards the groom, it was that moment. Suddenly the mother of the groom pulled out a piece of paper and said with a devilish face, "If you're going to be the wife, you must understand and agree to all these rules." Everyone was stunned and confused as to what was happening. The mother of the groom didn't seem to care and began reading. "A fitting wife will bow to her husband with 3 fingers on the ground every time that he comes home. A fitting wife will wake up earlier than her husband and go to sleep after her husband. A fitting wife will perform her marital duties by being available to her husband at all times to render her body to her husband." It was obvious that everyone in the room was completely shocked. Although confused himself, the pastor stepped in and said,
"Mom, maybe you could talk about this later."
To which she exclaimed, "Please be quiet. This is discipline for the bride. She will throw away her parents and accept us as her true parents." Or some nonsense like that. Of course, you gain a new family when you get married. But to demand that my sister throw away her parents right in front of them, it's insane. The staff started to panic, thinking that the ceremony was falling apart. But when they tried talking to the groom, he said,
Just let her do this."
nonchalantly. The staff couldn't hide the shock on their faces.
Is the bride okay with this?
I'm not going to let her complain. I'm allowing her to be my bride, so this is all a given.
With those words, my father, who had been standing there with his jaw dropped, finally returned to himself and
What?
fell out of his mouth, to which the groom started to lecture him.
Listen, I'm in the position where I'm taking your daughter for you, right? My mother is simply teaching her what her duties are as a wife. Therefore, she will have to abide by these words.
Upon hearing these words, our family and relatives sitting on my side started to cause a commotion.
What do you mean, taking his daughter for him? Who is this guy? Is he looking down on our family?
The voices were coming from all over. Honestly, I felt the same way. My sister's kind personality was well known even throughout our neighborhood. She had a great education and was beautiful, and within our family, she was like an idol. So to give her a man like that was unthinkable. Of course, all our relatives knew this, and that's why they were getting angry. I shouldn't say this, but according to my sister, the groom is just a plain old salaryman with no fancy job title. If anything, his family should be the ones grateful to get married to my sister. This is just my guess. But by making my intelligent sister bow down to them, they were trying to raise their own status. In that moment, my dad muttered,
"Want to go home?"
and my sister immediately replied,
Yeah, let's go.
The mother of the groom yelled, "How dare you! A girl like you! I would never let you marry our precious son anyway!" and stormed out of the room. The groom followed shortly after, saying,
I didn't think you were a woman with such a little respect. Like my mother said, even if you come begging again, it's too late!
and stormed off behind her. After that, the ceremony turned into just a dinner party. It turns out that neither my sister nor the wedding staff had any idea of the mother of the groom's plans, and were all quite shocked. to the point where the staff even said,
We've never seen a wedding ceremony like this before.
Because of that, in our hometown, this ceremony was known and spoken of as the infamous wedding. After that, the groom called my sister and said while grinning,
If you apologize to me and swear that you will always do as I say and never talk back to me again, then I'll forgive you and marry you, okay?
My sister kicked back.
Are you stupid?
I'll be the one rejecting you, thanks. In order to discuss their wedding ceremony cost, they had to speak through lawyers. Since the mother of the groom destroyed the wedding without any previous discussion or plan, they ended up having to pay for the entire ceremony. No matter how you think about it, it was insane, so that's a given. I guess everyone can see that the mother of the groom was crazy. 2 years later, my sister's manager fell for her and they started dating. Unlike the other loser groom, this man was good at his job and was also known for his great personality as well. The relationship went smoothly and my sister had her second wedding. Since that was her first wedding, both my sister and my parents were feeling pretty negative. But in the end, it was a beautiful ceremony. The following year, my sister gave birth to 2 twin babies. Even after having the children, her husband continued to be really kind. And knowing that my sister wanted to go back to work, he did everything he could to support her. Of course, my parents were thrilled too, saying,
We are so lucky to welcome such a great son-in-law and to gain 2 grandchildren at once.
However, one day, we don't know where he heard that my sister gave birth, but her former fiancé tried to get in touch with her. And of course, it was an idiotic message.
I'm sure you're finally starting to feel sorry. I heard you even had 2 kids, so I'll do you a favor and take them in as my heirs. If you don't discipline them from a young age, they'll turn into useless adults. So before that happens, you need to bring them over quickly.
My sister had blocked his number, but when she got a new phone and transferred the data, she must have forgotten to reblock him.
What are you even saying? You are nothing to me now, and I'm married.
Like I said, I'm telling you that if you apologize, I'll reconsider you. My mom is also very graciously willing to accept you. Well, depending on your attitude, of course.
My sister couldn't help but laugh.
I guess idiots can't stop being idiots. I'm so glad I didn't end up with a stuck-up loser like you and a loser mother like yours. Plus, unlike a normal plain old salaryman like you, my husband has worked hard to earn a director role and makes 3 times your salary. He's kind and a gentleman. And I don't know what world you're living in, but he doesn't try to force archaic gender roles onto me, nor does he have a crazy mom. I'm perfectly happy now, so don't ever try to contact me again.
And hung up the phone. If I was there, I probably would have been crying of laughter. My sister said that it felt refreshing too. A few years later, my sister heard from her friend that her former fiancé's colleagues found out about his disastrous failed wedding and ostracized him, saying,
Someone like you will never get married. No matter how you look at it, you and your mother are insane.
His bosses were angry too.
How dare you invite me to such a circus of a wedding? It was embarrassing and a complete waste of money.
And thus was permanently banned from having any career path. So, as his colleagues worked their way up, he's apparently still crawling around the bottom. On top of that, since his mother started saying such nonsense in front of a large crowd. If you date that person, an awful mother comes with him.
I could never have a misogynistic husband.
And no woman will come near him. So of course he can't even get a girlfriend, and getting married is a far-off fairy tale for him. At a ceremony meant to declare your love for one another, he was standing there with his mother, and instead of stopping her insane rant, only encouraged it and took her side, berating my sister. I hated him, so I gotta admit, I was happy to hear that. Thankfully, my sister is happy now with a bright future ahead of her. But I still can't believe that. During what's meant to be a once-in-a-lifetime wedding, a mother like that appeared and had the nerve to act like that. Her husband now is a really great person, and my wish is for her to be so happy that all her dark past gets completely erased.
I have a younger brother who used to say, Big brother, and follow me around. I'm currently living in a different state away from my family. One day I received happy news from my younger brother that he was getting married. Hello, big bro. I'm getting married. You're getting married? Really? Wow. Yes, really. Actually, I want you to attend the wedding, but you're probably busy with work.
What are you saying? Of course I'll go. I'll take leave from work and celebrate your special day with you. You're getting married after all.
Thank you. I'm so glad you could come. Okay then, I'll contact you again once the date is officially decided.
Sure, I'll look forward to it. Then a few days later, I received a wedding invitation from Howard and I attended the wedding. Many people attended the wedding, including the bride's family, friends, and acquaintances. The wedding ceremony was a very beautiful and emotional event. My little brother, who used to follow me everywhere I went, is already starting a new chapter with the love of his life. I guess that's just how life is. Then, after the wedding ceremony ended without a hitch, my mother asked me to stay for a few days with them. So I stayed at my childhood home for a few days. Then, on the second day of my stay, my younger brother and his wife came to visit. But Amanda, my younger brother Howard's wife, said something shocking to me.
There's something I would like to say to you, Nathan. Is it okay?
With Amanda's sudden words, Howard, my mom, dad, and I looked puzzled. Sure, what is it?
The amount of money you gave us for the wedding was way lower than I expected. I'm extremely disappointed.
Huh? Was the amount very low? I'm sorry, I thought I gave a little more than expected.
What? The amount is what you call more than expected? I can't believe you're so stingy.
Hey, Amanda! What do you think you're saying? Do you even know the amount of how much my big brother gave to us? He gave us $10,000 as a money gift for the wedding!
But you work at Fortune 500 company and you're well paid, right? So I thought you might give us more. But only $10,000?
Honestly, I haven't met my younger brother's wife that much, and I didn't expect those shocking words to come out of her lips. So instead of getting angry, my jaws gaped open and it took me a while to realize what was going on. It seemed like Amanda still had something to say to me, so she continued complaining.
I mean, aren't you embarrassed at all? Giving only $10,000 when you receive a lot more from your company? If that's the case, I won't let you hug or cradle Howard and my future baby.
By the way, they just got married and Amanda's not pregnant, so there's no baby inside her belly. I've been dreaming of this dream job that I have right now since I was a kid. I've worked hard for it. I got my qualifications, and I'm enjoying my current job. My family, relatives, and friends know the fact that I worked really hard and sacrificed some pleasures in life to get where I am today. She's not wrong that my salary is high. So I was actually thinking of spoiling my niece or nephew when my brother gets blessed with a baby. And if ever my younger brother needs help financially and asks me, I'm ready to give him whatever he needs. That's because I have enough money for myself and some to share. But hearing those shocking words coming from Amanda's mouth, those feelings of wanting to help my younger brother's family dissipated into thin air. Of course, I didn't get angry then and there, but I could tell by the look in my parents' eyes, they are just as confused as me. However, my younger brother was enraged by my wife's insensitive comment.
How could you say such a thing to my brother's face? Do you even hear yourself? It's $10,000! He's not a celebrity or anything, but he gave us $10,000 as a wedding gift!
Huh? He earns way more than he needs, so isn't that a reasonable amount for him to give?
Who in the world do you think gave an amount at least close to what Nathan gave? The rest of the guests only have a few $100s, which is the known etiquette. Nathan is the only one who did this for us, you know.
My younger brother was furious. Or that he was starting to regret his relationship decisions because he started yelling with tears starting to flow from his eyes. I don't mind much about it, so it's fine. Howard, don't worry about it.
No, it's not fine. I owe you a lot, you know. Not only your support as my older brother, but financially as well. You helped pay for most of my college tuition fees, but I still haven't returned the favor to you at all. So I wanted you to at least see me happy on what was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. That's why I invited you to my wedding, but Amanda, apologize to my big brother.
Why in the world would I even do that? He has a lot of money. So what's a lot for us is just a little for him. I expected you would be giving us a lot more money and gifts for the wedding. So I bought 2 more gorgeous dresses for the wedding, in addition to the white cake. All 3 dresses cost a fortune, without the amount I expected from you. I can't get my money's worth for holding the wedding.
You've got to be kidding me! That's not the reason I invited my brother to the wedding! The newlyweds, Howard and Amanda, started a quarrel. I stopped the fight and the situation somehow subsided, but it was really a great deal of commotion. But I only have a certain amount of time off from work, so my mother told me,
Leave things to us. You should go back to your place now and prepare for work. There's no need for you to worry about this.
I listened to my mom and decided to go home. When I arrived at my apartment, I received a phone call from my younger brother. Big bro, I'm really sorry. I apologize for what Amanda said to you. I never thought of you as my source of revenue, nor do I expect you to support me financially for the rest of my life. Of course, I know that. What do you think I am? I'm your younger brother. Don't worry about it. If anything, I feel like I somewhat broke the good atmosphere of Howard's wedding. But after that incident, Amanda's parents found out what their daughter said and did. Seems like Amanda thought that she could take money from me through Howard, since I was very supportive of my younger brother. Apparently, Amanda took her husband's credit card from his wallet, stole the card information, and bought a lot of stuff on the internet with his card. My younger brother has had enough of his wife's actions. Howard filed for a divorce, and a few months later, they got divorced. Of course, since Amanda used Howard's card without permission, he demanded alimony. After the divorce, my younger brother called me. I'm sorry about what you went through and are still going through. Maybe I shouldn't have attended your wedding ceremony. You shouldn't be sorry at all, because you're my precious older brother. I should be the one saying sorry instead. When Howard told Amanda that he wanted a divorce, Amanda started yelling that it was my fault. Things escalated, so Howard called the cops and they took her to the police station. However, when Howard talked to Amanda's parents about his thoughts of filing for a divorce, they apologized and begged him not to do so. We're truly sorry for what our daughter has done. My wife and I will go to the police station for our daughter. We will bring her to our hometown so she doesn't do any further inconveniences in the future. So please forgive her for her actions. Amanda's father said it, and he took Amanda back to their hometown. Howard and Amanda have agreed to split up the wedding ceremony expenses 50-50, but Amanda ended up having to pay for the whole amount of the ceremony. As if that was not enough punishment for her, she also had to pay for the reparations of her actions. Amanda is from a small town and dreamed of living in New York, so she came here. However, rumors say that since she was forced to go home to the countryside by her parents, she was also forced to help on her parents' farm. Farm work starts early in the morning, and it's done outside. Amanda's still in her 20s and didn't like farm work, so she attempted to run away several times, but since she owes her parents a lot of money, she can't escape from farm work. What's more is that her skin turned dark because of the blazing heat of the sun. She had to deal with every single day she was out on the farm. Perhaps her skin is delicate because a few years later, blemishes started appearing on her face and she looked very old all of a sudden. On New Year's Day, 3 years after my younger brother had a divorce, he had a new girlfriend by his side when we gathered as a family at our parents' home. Howard's new girlfriend is very conservative and supports him very well. Seems like she's pleasant to our parents too. Because of that incident before, I was hesitant to introduce my new girlfriend to you, but this is my girlfriend, Betty.
Pleased to meet you, Nathan. I heard a lot about you from Howard.
The pleasure's mine, Betty. Please take good care of my younger brother. Because of the unfortunate incident that happened a few years ago, our parents cried and said that Howard might not be able to marry again. So I'm very happy to see Howard regain his happiness and share it with his new girlfriend, Betty. After that, Howard became a bit hesitant to hold a wedding ceremony because of what happened a few years back. He said that they'll just take pictures. You might think that way, but for Betty, the wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. You should hold a wedding ceremony for the sake of Betty. I told Howard that, so they decided to hold a small but intimate wedding ceremony. But because of the trouble that happened regarding the money gift during the first wedding, I honestly had no idea how much I should give to my younger brother. Howard came and told me, I already received more than enough from you from the previous ceremony, so I don't need a money gift from you this time, big bro. There's no way I'm not giving a monetary gift to your wedding when everyone else is. This wedding is different from the previous one, you know. Actually, I told Betty about the incident that happened a few years ago. She told me that you're probably still worrying about that. That's why Betty and I decided that we don't need any wedding gifts from you. We're happy as long as you attend our wedding. When I heard those words coming from Howard's mouth, I thought, I'm sure that Howard will truly be happy this time. I felt from the bottom of my heart that everything will turn out great for my little brother. Then, Howard and Betty held a small intimate wedding ceremony with just family and close relatives. I ended up not giving the money gift for the ceremony, but Since Howard and Betty moved into a new house, I gave my younger brother and his wife a little something as a housewarming gift. Tears started rolling down Howard's cheeks. Thank you, big bro. I will definitely be happy this time. I really hope so too, from the bottom of my heart.
My husband and I live together. We don't have any kids, but both of us were thinking that it might be time to start trying. Ever since we got married, we moved into my husband's 2-bed apartment. Neither of us owned that many things, and we didn't do much shopping either. So despite the space being a little bit tight, we were able to live comfortably up until now. But the more we thought about the future and the idea of having kids, we both agreed that it wasn't enough space, and we started playing with the idea of building a house. From there, we both started buying and reading books about building a house, and we hired an architect to begin the construction of our dream home. The finished product was a wonderful house built exactly the way we both wanted. Oh, it was perfect. We decided to wait to purchase any furniture until we could see the finished interior of the house. Before we could even get to that, though, one day, a college student rammed his car straight into our brand new dream home. It unfortunately caused massive damage to the foundation of the house, along with breaking some crucial pillars. And we were devastated to receive the news that they would have to destroy and rebuild the entire home. The house was so close to being complete at this stage, with only one area needing electricity, and a few finishing touches to the interior left. My husband and I were both so excited, and in our honeymoon phase, of getting ready to move into our dream home. We were both stunned, to a loss of words at this nightmare. On top of that, the culprits hadn't signed up for a voluntary insurance, and the cost of damages was estimated to be $240,000. However, it seemed like he was trying to get out of paying any of it by claiming personal bankruptcy. Because he was already in his 3rd year of college and no longer a minor, we couldn't sue his parents, instead to pay on his behalf. We went to a lawyer for advice, but she told us that even if we tried to fight him on it, if he is already trying to get out of it by claiming personal bankruptcy, then it was more likely than not that he would be able to get away with it. Our dream home that we had finally gotten into our hands was destroyed in an instant. And to make matters worse, the culprit was trying to get out of paying for any damages by claiming personal bankruptcy. We didn't think this nightmare could get any worse. Since he is a young college student and would probably be looking for a job soon, our lawyer told us once he finds a job, it might be possible to collect money off of his salary in the future. The reason for this accident was a genuine slip. It wasn't anything like drunk driving. The police said that there was a possibility that he was speeding, but there is no way to prove that at this point. We felt lost. However, for some reason, the young college student refused to speak about his parents. My husband had insisted to contact the parents and explain what happened, considering the guy's status as a student, but we were ignored. Not only were we ignored, he continued to repeat that he is a college student and no longer a minor, and therefore the responsibility only falls on him, and that his parents don't need to get involved. He completely objected to any attempts for us to get his parents on board. On our side, we tried to contact him directly to try to have a civil conversation, and we even tried writing him a letter, but to no avail. After the accident, since we couldn't get a hold of him at all, on my husband's day off, we even tried to go to his address, but of course, nobody answered. Since it was an apartment with gated doors, we couldn't confirm if he was faking it or not. It was obvious that he was running away from us. These days, it's hard to get personal information about someone, but we tried going to his university to explain that one of their students had caused such an accident, and we gave details about the current situation we were stuck in. When we said that if this continues, we would be going to court, they finally gave us his parents' contact information. And of course, we were finally able to get in touch with his parents. As expected, the college student hadn't said a word about the accident to his parents. His mother gave me her messenger account, and I proceeded to send her the photos of the accident and the aftermath, as we talked to her about the cost of damages. I even told her how many attempts we tried to make contact with her son, and how much we had tried to have a conversation about the situation, but that he was continuing to avoid us and run away from taking any responsibility. Both of the parents apologized profusely to me. The moment we heard their response, my husband and I finally felt like we were taking a step forward, and we were happy. The parents promised us that they would speak to their son and that they would be in touch with us again later. Given their son's behavior up until now, We were worried whether they would actually contact us or not, but the parents were very responsible people, and we received a phone call from the same day earlier than we expected. They agreed to speak with us and with their son to discuss next steps altogether. There are not enough words to express how sorry we feel for the trouble that our son has caused. The moment they arrived, both parents deeply bowed to us and continued to apologize on behalf of their son. My husband and I got straight to business.
The exact cost of damages isn't confirmed just yet, but the amount for compensation is likely going to be closer to $300,000. Broken down further, currently the damages to the house are around $240,000, the necessary destruction and reconstruction of the foundation around $10,000 to $20,000, and other costs, including our current rent, parking, space, and legal fees, is why we're estimating around $300,000.
That was when their son finally opened his mouth.
What the hell? There's obviously no way that I could pay that kind of ridiculous amount.
He muttered. This dried up my last ounce of patience that I had, and I asked him, "Were you planning on paying anything at all? You've completely ruined our brand new house, and yet, after that, we haven't been able to try to contact you at all. You have ignored all of our attempts to work this out together, and you even objected to allowing us to contact your parents. We even heard that you were going to try to claim personal bankruptcy and run away from any responsibility." The son then rolled his eyes and whispered, "Damn it, seems like I hit the nail on the head." In response, his parents chimed in, "No, please, we will be taking full responsibility for this, and we'll be certainly paying. Please, take a look at this." In her hand, she handed across a passbook with periodic deposits. "In this passbook, you will see 2 periodic deposits of $50,000 and an additional $100,000, already in the passbook that we had been planning and saving to give to my son after he graduates college. This is the money that we were going to give to our son in full as a congratulations for when he graduated college. For now, we would like to offer this $200,000 up front, and the remaining $100,000 will have to be paid in installments by our son. But please, we promise that we will make him pay for it."
Huh? What the hell? Stop messing around! Why should I have to give them my money? And plus, that's my money, isn't it? I'm not just gonna let you give them my money without my permission!
As soon as he said that, we saw his father's fist make contact with his son's cheek, and the college student went flying right across our faces.
You brat! That's enough! We've all had enough! How much more do you plan on embarrassing us and bringing our family shame? Don't you know that a home is full of people's hopes and dreams? You managed to destroy all that, and then try to run away and avoid all responsibility by claiming personal bankruptcy. You better cut it out with all these games already and grow up!
My husband and I were stunned once again. Anne sat there with her jaws on the floor right next to the college student.
You are a shame to the entire family, and you are no longer my son. One thing I will guarantee is that you will absolutely pay these people back for the damages that you caused. Of course, you are also getting kicked out of that comfortable apartment you're living in that we're paying for, because you are no longer my son. Wait a minute, Dad, come on! You're just joking, right? If I get back the apartment, how am I supposed to live? Where am I supposed to sleep? How am I supposed to survive? You've got some nerve saying that. You destroyed someone's house, a brand new, freshly built home at that, and didn't say a word to us about it. You probably didn't say anything because you knew exactly what was coming. You worthless piece of crap that only thinks about himself. How disgraceful!
His father's words pierced right through even my husband and me, and we didn't know what to say. We had assumed that the student hadn't told his parents because he was afraid of getting in trouble with them, and that was also why he was avoiding us so desperately when in reality, he knew that he was going to get all this money as soon as he graduated college. And because he didn't want to hand over that money to us, he didn't want us to get in touch with his parents either. He wouldn't have to pay back any loans either if he just claimed personal bankruptcy. All he had to do was receive the money from his parents after that. How clever. What a terrible, terrible kid. Just like his father said, he truly is a disgrace. For what it was worth, the father also told us that there was an insurance policy from the college for their son, and since there was a possibility that we might be able to get something out of that, he said we should include it in the settlement that we would be receiving from him. We were truly grateful, especially given how terrible this student was. that his parents were so understanding. Up until then, the accident had dropped us into the depths of desperation, and we weren't seeing any way out. But now we finally felt like we could see the light towards a brighter future ahead of us. After all this, the student managed to escape being expelled from the college. That is to say that he was originally going to be expelled immediately, but my husband and I realized that in order for him to be able to pay back the full amount of compensation, he would need to graduate college and be able to get a job. And so, we were actually the ones that stopped him from getting expelled. The student's parents also followed up accordingly. They canceled all periodic payments to their son's account and withdrew everything from the passbook and handed it over to us in cash. My husband and I were relieved to see the $200,000 out of the $300,000 up front. For the remaining $100,000, we would have to collect it directly from the son himself. However, as his father declared, he was kicked out of his fancy gated apartment and was forced to move into a tiny one-room apartment to live alone. Until he could graduate college, he was forced to work multiple part-time jobs, and it was all set up so that 70% of that income would be confiscated and deposited straight to us. On top of that, after he graduated, he found himself a full-time job. It was decided that more than half of his salary would be confiscated and once again returned directly to us. Apparently, the son had imagined that after he graduated college, he would be living comfortably in the apartments that his parents were paying for and take his time finding a new job while living off the money that they were going to give him. But those dreams were shattered into pieces just as quickly as he had destroyed our house. We are eternally grateful for the student's parents for the way they handled the situation. But when it comes to the student himself, we couldn't help but feel like he got what he deserved. Because of the son who could only think about himself, our dream home was destroyed. But thanks to the parents, who has their values straight, it looks like we will have our dream home after all. It might take a little bit of time, but we're still as excited as ever. My name is Taylor Skillman. I live with my husband and my son, who is in the 2nd grade. And we are a happy family of 3. My husband and I were both originally from Texas, but because of my husband's work, we are now living in Minnesota. Time flew by, and we were already about to finish our 4th year of living in Minnesota. When we first moved here, I didn't know anybody. It was full of doubts for both myself and my son. Even then, the only reason why I have been able to enjoy my time in this unknown land was thanks to none other than our wonderful neighbors, who have always been quick to lend us a hand. That's right, all the people living in our little neighborhood were truly great people. Well, with the exception of one certain person. That was a woman and a fellow mom by the name of Rebecca Cooley. She lives right across the road from our house, and we share a road in between us. She may live directly across the street, but Rebecca's house was huge, about 3 times the size of ours. The Cooling family was well known around the town to be quite wealthy. The wife, Rebecca, was always bragging about her time earning a high salary when she was living in the city however many years ago. Using the fact that she came from the city and the fact that she had a little bit of money under her belt, she would often call the rest of us normal people peasants and try to establish herself as always being above us.
Oh, well, Miss Skillman, where did you get that down coat?
Oh, you mean this one? Well, I got it at TJ Maxx. When I said that, Rebecca would proudly show off her coat plastered with a brand name logo and seemingly wave it in front of my face.
Oh, you mean that discount store that claims to sell nice things at a cheaper price? Even though it's cheap to begin with? Aren't you embarrassed to be wearing something so cheap?
She points and laughs. Here we go again. Not really, it's not embarrassing.
And seriously, what's with your skin? It looks like it's covered in sunspots and wrinkles. Are you using proper sunscreen every day?
I don't know whether it's proper or not, but I do use sunscreen every day. These actually aren't sunspots though. They're freckles that I've had ever since I was little.
And this is exactly why I don't like peasants who come from their small towns. You wear your cheap clothes and you use cheap skincare and cheap makeup, and your skin just gets older and older. And the poverty is written all over your face. And to not even be embarrassed by any of that. And have the nerve to walk around outside. That would be unimaginable in New York City. Honestly, quite the disgrace. Please don't even think about coming anywhere near my house looking like that. Okay?
Even if you tell me not to come near your house, I do live across the street, you know.
Anyway, I better get going. I have plans to get dinner with the wife of Mr. Smith, an influential person in the area. Bye-bye.
No matter what I would try to say back to her, Rebecca did not have an ear for listening to what anybody else had to say. What's worse is that Rebecca would try to leave her son Ricky with us whenever she had plans.
I'm about to go to the spa. When Ricky gets home from school, would you mind letting him into your house and letting him play with your son over there?
You can't just tell me to do that all of a sudden. Our family has plans too.
Oh, come on. We live right across the street from one another. Be a good neighbor.
No, but when my son gets home, I need to take care of him too after his school lessons today.
What? Did you just say after-school lessons? Your family is so poor, and yet your son has after-school lessons? How spoiled. Anyway, that's fine. It can be after you go drop off your son. But please, make sure you look after Ricky. I'm going to go now. Bye.
What? In the end, Rebecca went straight to her spa appointment as scheduled without any regard for her son or my family. When I came home from dropping off my son off at his lesson, I saw that Ricky had come home from school, and he was sitting in front of the door to his giant mansion and crying. I felt really bad for him, but I knew if I let him into our house once, that Rebecca would say,
"Can you take him again?"
keep asking us over and over again to look after her own son. As much as it pained me, I decided to leave him there. But it turns out that the other neighborhood saw him and had called the police, and Ricky was taken to the local police station. Because of that incident,
Don't be such a disgrace to the neighborhood. And poor Ricky, having to deal with the consequences of your actions. What's wrong with you?
Rebecca was harshly yelled at by her husband, a sensible person, and was no longer allowed to leave the house without her son. After that, Rebecca never asked me to babysit for her, and I was beginning to think that perhaps she had learned her lesson. But unfortunately, I was wrong. If anything, it was the opposite.
If you had just taken him in as we discussed, none of this would have happened, Miss Skillman.
Not only did she blame me for the entire incident, it seemed to add fuel to her flames, and she began harassing me whenever she had the chance. It was a miracle that I'm not resentful, because she sure was. The harassment started from petty little things like putting chewing gum on our front door, to ding-dong dashing us. More or less stupid little pranks that you would expect from a small child. In the beginning, I really did think it was just the neighborhood kids messing around, but when I discussed it with my husband and we installed a security camera outside of the house, there was a crystal clear video of Rebecca smacking on her gum, pulling it out of her mouth, looking around to make sure nobody would see her, and sticking the gum all over our front doorknob. There were plenty of other footage of her playing pranks that you would never imagine a grown adult to be doing. The evidence was starting to pile up, and just as I was thinking about taking it to the police, that was when things finally blew up. After 2 months after harassment had started, it started to snow where we were living. For our family, who had always lived in the South, we had never seen snow until we moved to Minnesota, and in the beginning, we were always thrilled to see the piles and piles of snows around us. I would have snowball fights with my son or make snowmen and snow angels, and I genuinely used to think that the snow was a beautiful blessing. That feeling didn't last for long, though. The snowfall in Minnesota was way more than I had ever experienced or expected, and if the snow piled up to our knees or even higher, it was a massive pain to shovel it out of the driveway. Every time I would see the snowflake mark on the weather forecast, I knew that was coming, and would only be hit with disappointment and exhaustion. Snow again? On the days that the snow would pile up, we wouldn't be able to get to the car or get the car out unless we shoveled the front door and driveway. Everyone in the neighborhood was in the same situation, and they would start shoveling early in the morning before they would all go to work. On the other hand, Rebecca on the other side of the road used to brag that neither her nor her son had ever had to shovel their own snow before. That day, after her husband had shoveled all the snow around him all by himself, as usual, and headed off to work, Rebecca came outside with the shovel. To my shock, she walked over with the stack of snow that her husband had neatly gotten out of the side of the road and started dumping it into the middle of the street on my side. Everybody in town knew that when you shoveled the snow, as well as the overall right thing to do, to shovel it to the side of the road alongside the gutters. If anything, it was illegal to shovel it onto the roads. Excuse me, Mrs. Cooling. What are you doing?
What? We all know that after snow gets shoveled, it turns back and gets disgusting, and I don't want that anywhere near my house. It'll ruin the image, right? Plus, it's going to melt when my car comes by, so why do you care?
Sure, eventually it might melt, but during the winter, There would be so much snow that even the gutters would get filled up, and there would often be large puddles in the middle of the road. These, of course, would turn into beautifully dangerous icy paths in the morning, which meant that this would happen not on the road in front of my house, but actually the road directly in front of Rebecca's house. What Rebecca didn't realize was that there was a slight dip in the road directly in front of her house, where water would easily pool up regardless of the season. Whatever snow that she was throwing on my side of the road would melt and become water, making its way towards that side dip and creating a puddle directly in front of her house. Of course, Rebecca's husband knew this, and that's why he would strategically shovel the snow every single day. But as soon as he left for work, Rebecca would come out and throw that snow over to my side of the road. She continued doing this every day that the snow was piled up. The snow would melt and then drain over to that dip and create a puddle, which would again make a large icy patch on the road. It would snow again, and this process was repeated until eventually, a few days later, a massive ice patch with an extremely uneven and bumpy surface had formed right in front of the house. Lo and behold, a large dump truck lost its control over the ice patch, and the driver didn't stand a chance against the bumpy surface, and it ran straight into Rebecca's house. Because the snow hadn't stopped and there was a small layer of it covering the ice patch, nobody had even realized that such a large sheet of ice had formed, and thus the incredible ice patch that Rebecca had created through her hard work of trying to harass me was discovered by a large dump truck. It had become so solid that it could even maintain the weight of such a truck. As I mentioned earlier, shoveling snow onto the road was a violation of the local traffic laws, and as a result, Rebecca was taken in by the police. Rebecca tried to testify to the police that
I was only shoveling snow, that's all.
But, thanks to the security camera that we had installed on our front porch, there was footage of her grinning as she intentionally dumped the snow onto my side of the road, and no matter what excuses she tried to give, she couldn't get out of it. In the end, Rebecca received a fine from the police and was sued by the truck driver for the cost of damages, and was also sued by my family for all her verbal abuse and harassment, resulting in quite the sum of money that she owed to all three parties. On top of that, she also had the cost of damages and repair for her own house, and I can only imagine what the total was. In addition, because the police also got involved, it affected her husband's work and put their relationship on a tightrope. In the end, he divorced her, getting full custody of their son, Ricky, while Rebecca took herself and her debt back to her parents' home. Despite how much she liked to brag about having money, Rebecca's father was a regular salaryman and her mother was a full-time housewife, so even their savings wasn't enough to save Rebecca, and they ended up having to sell their house in order to help pay back the daughter's debt. Later on, I found out that Rebecca said her reason for throwing the snow was because
I just wanted to make Taylor's life harder.
But if the ice patch had formed in front of my house and resulted in my husband or my son getting injured, I never would have forgiven her for it. However, luckily my entire family was safe, and Rebecca ended up losing her precious child and husband and home, as well as all of her money. I felt like in the end, she got what she deserved, and I decided to leave it all in the past. 4 years after moving to Minnesota, and I was finally free of Rebecca's money boasting and harassment. I'm looking forward to a peaceful life ahead, surrounded by my truly wonderful neighbors.
My name is Trisha. I'm a first-year middle school student. I live together with my mother and my father and my younger sister, Nina. We're a family of 4. Nina and I have been members of the local choir since we were little. Nina and I are highly regarded by the people who listen to us sing, especially my younger sister, Nina. Despite being just an elementary school student, her beautiful voice attracts many people. Nina was born blind and she currently goes to the school for blind people. She has a sunny personality and is always very cheerful. As my little sister, she likes to copy everything I do. She's so cute that I don't mind her copying me. I'm quite sociable in school, so there are many times when I brought friends over from school and played together with them after school. All my friends doted on my younger sister and treated her as their own. I was very happy with that and how everyone always had a good time. One day, I was asked by my classmate Kelly if it's okay for her to hang out at my house after school. Kelly is a very strong-willed person, and she's the kind of person who ignores you when you disobey her. So even though I didn't really want to invite her to our house, I couldn't say no to her and ended up inviting her home. Kelly's parents are both police officers. Her mother and father are always very busy, so I haven't seen them attend any school events.
I did see Kelly with her parents once at the department store when I was shopping. Her parents are very strict looking, and I remember Kelly looking scared standing beside them. Unlike the strong-willed girl she is at school, she looked very weak and powerless. One day, Kelly came straight to our house to play wearing the school uniform. She didn't bother to go home first and change her clothes to a more comfortable outfit.
So this is where you live? Your house is bigger than I imagined.
Thank you.
Welcome home, big sis. Is she your friend from school?
That's right. Her name is Kelly.
Hello, Kelly.
Is she your younger sister? Yes, she's my younger sister. She's a 3rd grader.
Big sis, come on. Let's hurry up and practice for the choir.
Choir practice? Nina and I are part of our choir group. Nina is very good at singing, and she's the star of a choir group.
Is that so?
Which elementary school does she go to? She goes to an elementary school for blind children.
What? So, does that mean she can't see?
Sadly, yes. She was born blind.
Seriously? I can't believe this.
This is my first time meeting a blind person. What is it like not being able to see?
You can't see anything, like nothing at all?
She looked at Nina with curious eyes like my sister was an extraterrestrial or something. She asked insensitive questions to Nina, so I felt offended and displeased. I've had enough of this! Nina, go play over there. I'll play with you later, okay?
Okay. That's a shame. I wanted to ask her more questions.
I wanted Kelly to hurry up and go home as soon as possible, so I lied to her and said that I had errands to run. Even after that, every time Kelly and I bumped into each other at school, she kept on asking me to invite her to her house again. Of course, I declined her request every time she begged me. I thought that as Nina's older sister, that was the best thing to do in order to not hurt Nina's feelings further. One day after school, I went home late due to a school committee activity. I hurried home, but when I arrived, Nina was nowhere to be found.
Huh? Mom, where's Nina?
A girl named Kelly came over and said you'll be joining us later, and she took Nina to the park. Didn't you cross paths on your way home?
What? Kelly took Nina?
I had a bad feeling about it and immediately went out of the house to look for Nina. I have no idea why Kelly took Nina out of the house and even lied to get permission from my mom. Since she lied about me joining them later, I'm pretty sure she's planning to do something bad to Nina. I couldn't help but be worried about what Kelly might have done to my younger sister. So I looked all over town for Nina. While I was waiting for traffic light to turn red at the biggest intersection in town, I saw a shocking sight before me. My blind younger sister was standing alone in the middle of the busiest intersection in town! Nina! Thankfully, there were not so many cars and other vehicles passing that time, so I ran to Nina, grabbed her, and took her to the sidewalk. Nina was so scared that she couldn't stop crying. After we arrived home and Nina felt safe, she stopped crying. I asked Nina what happened, and why she was staying in the middle of the road, and an unbelievable truth came out of her lips. She told me that Kelly said that they would play games of hide and seek. At first, Kelly held Nina's hand to guide her, but when they arrived at the intersection, she showed Nina to count from 1 to 10 and left her there. Distraught with anger and shock, my mother tried to calm me down. That night, my mother and father discussed what happened. They decided to contact Kelly's parents. The next day was Saturday, and my parents didn't have to go to work, so my father called Kelly's parents. Instead of apologizing for what their daughter had done, Kelly's father responded with words that made me want to cover my ears.
There's no way my daughter would do such a thing! My wife and I are both police officers! Where's your evidence? I don't find a blind child's words credible at all! Don't report such uncertain information to the school!
Kelly's father shouted and got angry because he wouldn't believe the words coming out of his lips of a blind person, then hung up the call. Hearing that, my parents became very sad. I can tell from the expression on their faces. I felt so depressed every time I saw Kelly at school. On Monday morning, Kelly walked towards me with a nonchalant look on her face as if nothing happened.
Hi, Trisha. Did Nina say that the hide and seek we played was fun?
I wanted to slap her face and tell her to stop being ridiculous. However, My parents taught me not to let my anger get the better of me and pick fights, so I bit my lip and held back to stop myself. Then, Kelly laughed and went back to her seat. I couldn't forgive Kelly for what she did. I couldn't believe that Kelly wasn't being punished for that. But at the same time, I felt so frustrated that I didn't dare do something about it. While we were attending a lecture, the vice principal ran into her classroom out of breath. Then, he escorted Kelly and me to the principal's office. I had no idea what was happening, but I followed the vice principal's orders. When we arrived at the principal's office, the principal was sitting on the chair with a stern look on his face.
I want to ask you two about the incident yesterday.
I could see the principal was talking to me because he was looking at me directly. So I told the unbelievable incident that happened that day. I said everything in detail as best I could. Then Kelly suddenly rebutted my story.
The testimony of a blind elementary school student is unreliable.
Don't you talk about my younger sister like that! Who do you think you are? You know nothing! Enraged, I shouted at Kelly with all the emotions building up inside me. The principal stopped us before things escalated.
The two of you, calm down! I have the evidence with me.
Evidence? What evidence?
Someone saw what happened yesterday and reported it to me.
A single phone call is insufficient as evidence. There's a possibility that the person is lying.
The witness said that footage of what happened was recorded in the car's dash cam. I asked the witness to bring it to me so I could check the evidence.
Upon hearing those words, Kelly shut up and was silent for a moment.
Because I was jealous that Trisha's younger sister is the star of the choir despite being completely blind.
You did that for that petty reason?
I've always wanted to be part of a choir ever since I was a little girl. I can't believe that there's something that a completely blind girl can do that I can't.
If that's the case, you could have just asked your parents to send you to join a choir instead of doing that to Nina.
There's no way my parents will permit me to join a choir. All they do is be strict with me, but never have ever fulfilled my request. Not even once. If I insist upon them for something, I'm sure they'll just shoot me down and kick me out of the house.
Anyway, I will contact your parents regarding this incident.
You're gonna tell my parents? Please don't! I don't want to even imagine what they'll do to me if they find out about this. I've been punished and physically abused by my parents since I was very little.
You put an elementary student's life in danger! You don't seem to realize how severe your actions are.
But...
If you've been physically abused by your parents, I will address that problem immediately. But for now, your priority is to admit what you did and apologize.
After that, the principal contacted Kelly's parents. Kelly's father said that he won't believe the story unless there was clear and reliable evidence. So the principal drove to Kelly's house and showed the footage on the dash cam. Then, Kelly's parents got angry, and their attitude changed drastically. Kelly ended up crying while apologizing to her parents. Kelly's parents contacted my parents on the phone and said that they wanted to apologize in person. However, my parents declined that request. They probably don't want to see the faces of the parents of the person who hurt Nina. But despite being told not to come, Kelly's parents came over to our house to apologize without notice. Kelly was with them too. Kelly's parents apologized again and again and forced Kelly, who was shaking in fear, to apologize to them. So Kelly had no choice but to say sorry for what she had done. Of course, my parents couldn't forgive them, so they asked the three to go home immediately. Kelly's parents were assigned to the Traffic Safety Division of the police department, but when the incident that happened was brought into light, and the rumors that the daughter of the police officer assigned to the Traffic Safety Division left a blind girl in the middle of a busy intersection spread, Kelly had to transfer schools because she couldn't take it any longer without being destroyed by anyone. Kelly quietly left the school like she was never a part of it. According to the rumors, I heard that Kelly's family was forced to move to a different place. After that, her parents' relationships crumbled and they ended up getting a divorce. Kelly's family fell apart because of that. After that, the principal asked the Child Guidance Center to investigate the abuse, based on Kelly's testimony. As a result, it was proved that Kelly's parents abused her. It seemed like the reason why Kelly was mean in school was because of the abuse she was getting from her parents. Kelly's parents were both arrested and Kelly got protection from the Child Guidance Center. As for me, I continued to join the choir together with Nina, just like we used to. I feel that there is nothing that could have topped the happiness of knowing that Nina is safe. On this day, my husband, our son, and I were at our son's school sports day. I'll take photos from the goal end, so you could take photos from the start line of the race?
Of course!
Our son's race was just about to start, so my husband and I decided to split up in order to get the best shots of our son running his race. Our son Max had a best friend called Bob, and they'd always been playing together. Max, I'm gonna win this race, so you better watch out!
I'm gonna do my best too!
They're so cute together. Do your best, the two of you! While I was watching Max and Bob, Bob's mom came over to talk to me. Although our kids get along so well, that wasn't necessarily the case for Bob's mom and I. Oh, well, if it isn't Max's mom. Hi. Oh, hi there, Bob's mom. Isn't it so nice that it's sunny today? That's true. Anyway, our kids are in the same race today, right? Yes, they are. I heard them saying they'll both do their best today. Why would they both need to be saying that? After all, it's so obviously my Bob that's going to take the first place in this race of theirs. There's really no need for Max to try so hard, since there's no way he'll get first place. Is that so? Of course, as his mom, I wanted my son Max to win the race. But even if he didn't come in first, if he did his best in the race, then that would have made me happy. But I can't deny it that Bob's mom had made fun of my Max, and so I was a little annoyed at that. At this moment, it seemed as though our kids had noticed that we were talking, and they came running towards us.
Mom, please make sure to watch my race. I'm gonna do my best.
Of course, Max. I'll be watching from the best spot. Do your best. Then Bob's mom chimed in. Bob, you better not lose to Max, got it? I won't accept a loser of a son. Yeah, but Mom, it's a race. We don't know who's faster until it's over. What are you going on about? You need to come in first place or else there's no point in even running the race. You have to come in first. Got it? Bob's mom looked so furious about her son talking back to her. It's just a school sports day race. I don't think we have to get our kids that wound up over it. I know with races where a kid's place is important to some degree, but I don't think you have to be that strict on Bob. We know that our kids are motivated to try their best today, but most importantly, don't you think our kids should enjoy this day today and make fun memories with their classmates? My son is my son, and not yours, so butt out of this. You don't get any say in how I bring up my kid. Who do you think you are anyway, getting into other people's business like that? Bob's mom had clearly gotten angry with me for what I'd said, but I didn't have anything to say back to her. I knew that Bob was a great and important friend for Max, so no matter what happened with the race, I was always going to congratulate the winner, whoever that may be. Because I wanted to keep the peace, I decided to just not say anything back to Bob's mom after that. It was at this moment that the announcement was made that Max and Bob's race were about to start, so they had to make it to the racetrack. It looks like you have to get back to the track. Max, good luck!
Thanks, Mom!
You too, Bob. Thanks, Max's mom. Bob, make sure to get first place, okay? If you don't, I won't congratulate you for having participated in this race. Until the very last minute they had to be going, Bob's mom just kept pressuring Bob. They finally made it to the track, and they were both in position to start the race.
Get ready! Set! Go!
With that, all the boys started running. Max, you're doing great! At this point, Max had overtaken Bob and was leading the race, but Bob was still just right behind him. Wow, those two are really fast. Keep going, the two of you. They kept overtaking one another over and over again, and all the people watching the race seemed to be invested in them as well. Then came the curve in the track, but it was at that moment that Max's shoelace came undone and he fell onto his face. Max! The other boys that had been behind Max just ran right past him, including Bob. It seemed as though Max had really hurt himself from the fall, so he could only slowly get up. Max! All the boys eventually overtook him and made it across the finish line. Max was the only one left on the track now, but it was just then that Bob, that had been in first place, had made a U-turn and was running back to Max. Bob helped Max get back up, and he let him lean on him, while both slowly made their way towards the finish line. Are you okay, Max?
I'm so sorry, Bob. You were in first place, but you came back for me.
Don't worry about that. We're going to make it across the finish line now. That's all that matters.
Okay.
With the help of Bob, they were both able to make it across the finish line together. Since everybody had been watching what had happened to Max on the track, and Bob coming back for him, the moment they tried to make it across the finish line, everyone started cheering and clapping for them.
You both did so well.
Well done, the both of you!
I'm so moved by the both of you.
The race was over, and both Max and Bob were making their way over to where the parents were gathered when Bob asked me, Max's mom, do you have a handkerchief? I do. Let me just find it. I got my handkerchief and went to wet it. Then, got it to Max and wiped his skinned knee with it. During this time, Bob had gone to get his first aid kit from the school nurse. You'll be okay with this. How do you feel?
My knee's still a little sore, but I'll be fine. Thanks.
I was watching the two being so kind to each other when Bob's mom showed up out of nowhere. Bob, what were you thinking just now? You were coming in first. How could you give up coming in first to go back to help Max? What's wrong with you? You should have left Max where he fell. Your teacher was there, so you should have just left Max to him. I couldn't believe what Bob's mom was saying. I was just about to say something to her when... Mom, you really can't be that bad of a person, can you? There's no way I'd be able to leave my friend behind who was hurt. How dare you talk back to me like that, Bob? You're not allowed to talk back to your mother. It doesn't matter if I came first, if it meant leaving my good friend behind. Why do you keep saying that? It's simply not true. Coming first is the top priority always. Any other ranking is meaningless and shameful. I can't believe you keep insisting you did the right thing, when all you truly did was make me embarrassed for what you did by going back to help Max. Shame on you!
You're the one that should feel shameful right now.
We looked over to the mysterious voice that came out of nowhere to find... Oh, Bob, it's your grandmother.
I came to watch my beautiful son's sports day, yet here you are making a complete fool of yourself. Bob finished the race with his best friend, yet you call him useless and unworthy because of what he did?
No, you see, I meant...
I'll make sure to tell my son, your husband, who sadly couldn't make it because of work today, about this. Bob, what you did was very brave, and Max, well done for not giving up until the very end. You both did so well and were so cool. Well done.
After being praised by Bob's grandma, the both of them got embarrassed and couldn't stop smiling shyly. After that, they both continued to do their best in the other games, and they had a great time at their school sports day. Once the sports day was over, Bob's mom got home and was told off pretty badly for her attitude towards their son by her husband. And she was made to agree to not say anything anymore in terms of Bob's approach when it comes to studying and sports. And she was also made to stay home for the next 3 months in order to reflect on what she's done. After everything went down at the school sports day, Bob's dad came over to our place with Bob's mom in order for them to both apologize for what Bob's mom had said about Max earlier. It seemed as though Bob's mom was really put in her place by her husband and her mother-in-law, that she seemed very different and quiet than before.
I'd like to apologize for what my wife said about your son the other day at the school sports day. I'm so sorry for her hurtful words. I know how close Bob and Max are, so I hope this incident won't damage their friendship moving forward.
Same here. I hope they'll continue to be good friends.
You have something to say too, don't you?
I'm so sorry for what I said before. Bob's mom apologized while crying. When I saw Bob's mom saying those harsh things to her son at the sports day, honestly, I was pretty worried about her attitude towards her son. But it turns out that Bob had a great dad and grandma to make up for it, so I believe he'll be okay. After all this went down, Max and Bob are still best friends, and Bob regularly still comes over to play with Max. Max once asked him,
Bob, is it okay for you to be hanging out with me? I feel like your mom might not be happy about us playing together.
After that day, my mom got told off so much by my dad and grandma that she sunk into her shell like a turtle. It's totally fine now.
Well, I'm happy we still get to hang out. Oh, that's right. We should have another race soon. You know, last time I fell over, so it wasn't exactly a fair race.
You're on then. I won't lose next time either. I was happy that after all of this, Max was still able to salvage his friendship with his best friend Bob. I thought these kids were still just kids, but soon I came to realize that they were actually pretty mature, and I was so proud of them for the way they handled the situation.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.